I was born in Los Angeles, and my birthday is August the 26th, 1929.
Okay, you born in L.A.?
Yeah, my folks went down there to work. My wife was, my mother was a telephone operator, and my dad got a job working in the Hobbs battery plant.
Mm-hmm. How about your siblings?
What?
Sibling, your brothers and sisters?
Okay, I have one brother, Neil, and three sisters.
Mm-hmm. So you are the eldest?
Mm-hmm.
What school did you go? Did you go to school in L.A.?
No, they moved back up here. My father they didn't like living in California.
Oh.
So they moved back up here, and out here to the north, they started a fish hatchery.
Ah.
And my dad, we lived out there until I was 6 years old, and they was worrying how they was going to get me into school, because there wasn't any school buses out there. So the thing, they just had this fish hatchery started right good, and then a drought came and dried up the springs, so that ended the fish hatchery. So we moved to town, and my dad got a job up then as an operator, plant operator up at the Telluride Power Company. Was 12 miles up the canyon, and we had to come down that old road every day to school in an old school bus. And I was the only one in class that hadn't missed a day of school, and this particular day there was a snowstorm came, and we couldn't get down. So all the kids in school thought that was the day I was going to miss the day of school, but we got down in the middle of the afternoon, and it was quite a time. We lived up there about 12 years, and we had to come down that old dirt road every day in an old school bus. And in the spring, the high water washed the bridges out, so we had to come to town and live with somebody until they got the bridges back in.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a nice place. It was a cool place to live up there in the summertime.
What is the name of the place?
The Telluride Power Company was the power company up there.
Up there where?
It was 12 miles up to Beaver Canyon.
Beaver Canyon.
And
So
there was a lower station there 3 miles down, and there was a spring down at the bottom of the hill where the furnished water to the residents. There was 3 homes there at the lower station, and we called it the Rattlesnake Spring because it was a little, when the tank would get filled, there was a little trickle that would go out a pipe, and the little rodents would go there to get a drink, and this old rattlesnake would be waiting there for them. So we had to be careful when we went up there. If we ever stopped at that spring for water to put in our vehicles or something, we had to watch out for that old snake. And I remember we finally got tired of watching for him, so we waited there once, and he showed up, and we killed him.
Rattlesnake?
Yeah, the rattlesnake.
So when did you graduate? Did you graduate high school?
Yeah.
What year was it?
Oh, it was 1948, I believe, and then we went to school over to Cedar, over at the college, the OBAC, and I remember that I had a 1936 Ford car, and every Monday I used to load up the kids, and we used to go to school, and then a Friday night.
You went to college?
College.
What was your major?
Woodworking, and they had a program over there where they went out and built houses, and you had an experience of doing everything. And I was real interested in that because that's what my father done and my granddad. And I've got, in the garage up there, I've got my grandfather's old toolbox and my granddad and my dad's. And I've got a lot of tools in there. I've got a garage full of junk.
So what were you doing when the Korean War broke out?
Is that what?
What were you doing? You were working on house and so on when the Korean War broke out?
We had the college over there build a house every year, and then they auctioned it off. And that was why you got the experience of building. You got to do everything, cement work, finish work. It was quite a deal, but we just finished over there and decided to get married. We was going to go back to school, and this Korean War come along. And so we decided, we went to the bishop and we said, should we get married now or should we wait? And he said, you get married now, you'll be more cautious. And so we said, well, we want to get married in the temple and they're all closed. And he said, let's see what we can do. So they come the next day and he said they're going to open the Manti temple 2 nights just to do weddings. And so we got married.
What did Bishop say to you?
The what?
What did Bishop say to you about the marriage?
Well, he said, you get married now and you'll be more cautious. And so in the service, and that's what we had, exceptionally good officers, and we didn't lose anybody, but boy, we was in the thick of things. And I had the ammo section. I had 12 of these big 2.5-ton trucks, and we had to haul all the ammunition to the firing batteries, and sometimes they'd go for days, and then they had a bunch of these Chinese soldiers got involved in, and some of those little guys were only 14 years old. And they told them that if they'd go and fight, that their families would be taken care of.
When did you know about the Korean War?
Well, we all, as like I said, we all joined the National Guard to make some extra money to go to school on.
You all got pretty nervous, or what?
We went to summer camp up to just south of Salt Lake, Camp Williams, I believe it was, and then we'd go up there and stay for 2 weeks, and we'd go through all the artillery practice and everything, and so we knew what we had to do, and we had section service battery was in Beaver, and they had to maintain the vehicles, furnish the supplies, and we all had this ammunition section. I had 12 of those big old 2.5-ton trucks. Sometimes we had to chain up the front wheels to get to get up to the firing batteries because the mud was too deep. And we always had these first trucks they gave them were those long wheelbase, and the roads were so rough that we break the front springs on them and couldn't get springs. So finally we had a chance to turn them in and get these short wheelbase ones, and they held up longer on the roads.
So you married and you had to leave for Korea, right?
Yeah.
When did you leave for Korea?
Well, we all the National Guard Armory was in the community center up to Beaver now, and we all met down there, and they called the roll and marched us out the front door and put us on a bus and hauled us to Cedar City and put us on a train off to Fort Lewis. We was on that train for 2 days to get up there, and then we found some little apartment right close to the base, and so we got our wives up there. That's how we didn't have any cars up there, but we used to, on weekends, we'd go into town. We used to have a good bus service out there, and we'd go into Tacoma, so we'd go in there shopping, and it was just a place to relax and be with our wives, and we had like you said, we had some good officers, and they watched out for us, but we were just a bunch of spoiled kids, and they had a lot of headaches keeping track of us.
So you were in Tacoma?
What?
You were in Tacoma, right?
Yeah, Tacoma.
Yeah, and when was it?
It was in 1951, I believe. And we had everybody from this hometown, we were always up there together, so everybody looked out for one another, and it was quite a thing. If somebody needs some help, there's always somebody there to help them, financially or.
So how many of you from the same town?
There was about there was close to 50 or 60 guys, and they came from. We had 2 guys from Milford, 2 from Minersville, and Service Battery was one of those batteries that they put everybody in. We had some problem guys that come in, and we knew how to take care of them, country kids.
Mm-hmm. So when did you leave for Korea?
We left, let's see, we got home for Christmas, and then when we got back right soon, they alerted us that we were going overseas, and we had saved enough money that we took our wives over to the airport and flew them into Salt Lake, and that's how we got them home. And our what stuff we had, we put in boxes and mailed home. Clothes and so. But like I said, we had good officers, and everybody watched out for one another, and if somebody needed some help, they got it.
So when did you leave for Korea? From where and how?
Well, we landed in Busan, and
by ship?
We had by ship.
When did you leave?
We was on that old boat for, I think, 21 days. I think in that history, I kept track.
Was it 1952 you left for Korea?
Yeah, we left. We had some good officers, and they watched out for us kids. We were just a bunch of young kids, and they had a lot of pressure from the townspeople to take care of them. And everybody knew that we weren't too experienced in war, and we had these officers we had had been in World War II, and so they knew what we had to do, and the old trucks we had, they were pretty beat up. You know, they were left over, and I said we got all the old wrecks with this new coat of paint on.
Yeah, but Conrad, when did you leave for Korea?
Well, let's see. I'm trying to think. It's in that history.
Is it 1951 or 52?
It was 51.
January 51.
And so we were, like I said, we were lucky but yet we were just a bunch of dumb country kids that had to learn the hard way, you know, and we did. But we got over there and we saw the Korean people.
How was them?
They were pretty beat up, you know. They'd got their homes burned up, and they didn't. Their little homes were pretty crude, you know. They had to build homes with what they had to build out of it, and some places was just rocks laid up and logs laid up and straw and stringers across the top, and then lay this straw on top of that, and then dirt, and that clay dirt on top. The water, when it rained, the water ran off, and so they had a dry place to live. And it was our guys felt real sorry for those Korean people, and they took care of them any way they could. You know, they'd feed them. We had a lot of extra rations, and we'd see that they had food to eat. It was a lot different than food than they'd been used to, so they had to be kind of careful. It made them sick.
So from Busan, where did you go?
What?
From Busan, where did you go?
Well, from Busan we went north around the 38th parallel.
Yeah.
And that was the kind of dividing line, and sometimes we'd go above that. Our artillery, we had 105 howitzers on M7 tanks, and they were armored, and so they'd throw those guys in the front quite a bit, and we'd have to haul ammunition to them, so we had to be real careful how we got to them. And we'd go in, unload, and get back out there right quick.
What was your specialty?
My specialty was I had the whole ammunition section, and I had to make sure that everything, you know, was working right. The trucks were working so we could get the batteries, and we had to locate the ammunition dumps because we had to go back and load the trucks, and we had ammunition stored on trailers and everything we could to, you know, to haul what we could, because when those firing batteries at night, when those Chinese move around, they used sometimes they'd fire 500 rounds at night.
Where were you located? Do you remember? Was it Porkchop Hill or Heartbreak Ridge, or where were you?
Well, I don't remember. I kept track of it in that diary. But we move ahead, but the roads were so bad. Sometimes we'd have to chain up the front wheels on those old trucks to get up the road and back. And when we went up, we were loaded going up, but we were empty coming back, so we had a hard time sometimes getting down the road. We had a harder time getting down the road than we did up the road.
What was the most difficult thing for you?
Well, I think the thing, mail was quite a thing for us.
Mail?
Mail from home. And one of the first letters I got, my wife said she was expecting a baby.
Oh,
and
boy.
I thought, am I ever going to get home to see my kid? And I got home, I think, about a month before she was born. Everybody thought that everything we done was, our enlistments was up the right time. We'd served that year's extension, and everything worked out just right. And I was one of the first ones home, and I thought some of those old mamas were going to beat me with their purse because I got home. I remember I liked carpenter work, and I worked in Cedar City for a while, and then it was kind of seasonal building construction. It was cold, and you had to get right with it, and the first thing you had to do was get the basement in for the house, and then you worked and closed it in, and hopefully you could get it closed in enough for winter time, and then there was always a period in the winter when you was laid off. But we had unemployment build up enough so that we could always have grocery money, we said, through the winter. It was kind of hard to, and so I had a chance. We had a friend, he wanted to sell his store down on Main Street, Beaver Home Furnishings.
Yeah.
And we ran that for 10 years, and then we had a chance to put in a Sears catalog store.
Okay.
And we run that for 10 years, and then we had a chance to sell the business, and we did.
Good. Have you been back to Korea?
I haven't been back on one of those visits. I'd like to go, but after I left, it was just artillery outfits. They moved them where they needed them, and a lot of times it was just to place them where for strength, you know. And sometimes they'd move them and wouldn't fire around, and then sometimes they'd be called on to fire a whole bunch, and then we had to replenish their ammunition for them.
Are you proud of your service?
Yeah. We all belong to the American Legion Color Guard, and we do all the military burials in the cemetery, and we're on the program for the Memorial Day, and these 3 or 4 guys in that American Legion went to Korea with us. So it's good to be active and to do those things.
You know, now Korea is very strong in economy, and it's a free country.
Well,
what do you think about that?
They were more oriented, you know. They had factories, little factories going, and I don't know, we never did get into North Korea to see, but it was these Chinese soldiers, they talked them into fighting for them. I don't know what the deal was but these little Chinese soldiers would be killed by the hunters, you know.
Yeah.
As, like I said, and they had a rifle, an old Mosin-Nagant rifle, and we used to take them and put them in a pile and burn them just to get them out of circulation. As we had, I was issued a .45 pistol once, and I wanted something to shoot further than that, so I put a little .30 caliber carbine together, and we were always around the parts and pieces, and those, I had 2 of those, and those I sent home. And my boys got that one out to Vernal now. He's still got it in the family.
Any other message you want to leave to this interview?
Well, I just said, you know, it was an experience that us dumb kids got involved in, and we got an education real fast. But we had some good officers, and they kept us safe, and especially service battery was always moving all the time. The firing batteries would be up in location, and service battery had to get all the supplies to them, food and ammunition, and so we were always moving, and we had things going for us. I said it was quite a time, and